leaders as they came out of prison. And we first met when they were released out of prison, and I was struck by Comrade Andrew Mlangeni, because much had been written about Comrade Madiba, Comrade Walter, Comrade Mgov, but the other comrades who were part of the Rivonia trial, much as they had made such a monumental contribution in our struggle, not much. So Comrade Mlangeni then started being revealed to us on an ongoing basis. And that is when many of us started realizing the real worth of the man that Comrade Andrew Mlangeni is. A real worth of a person who was a quiet and silent revolutionary, a person who had decided to dedicate his life to the freedom of our people, where he had demonstrated his enormous courage and determination, the types of attributes that have contributed to bring us to where we are as a people and as a nation. But much more than that, a person who, in my view, is the reciprocity of the values of the African National Congress. And that is why there was just no hesitation at all in the ANC to have Comrade Andrew Mlangeni being appointed as the chairperson of the Integrity Commission, because he was and continues to be Mr. Integrity himself. If you talk about integrity, if you talk about anyone who adheres to the values of what the African National Congress is, it is Comrade Andrew Mlangeni. And I think from now on, he should really be called Mr. Integrity or Comrade Integrity, because that's what he is. And through his tenure as chair of the Integrity Commission, and in history, it will always be known that when the ANC decided to set up a National Integrity Commission, it was Andrew Mlangeni who stood up amongst many other comrades, who was found to be the person who could lead this important structure of the African National Congress. He did so because he was recognized as a comrade who would fill that post with great dignity, who would fill it with great, ability to serve our people, because his life has really been about serving our people. And if we talk about servant leaders, it is Comrade Andrew Mlangeni who will stand out amongst many others as a true servant leader, a person whose life is just about what the African National Congress is. And I think we are fortunate. We are fortunate as the African National Congress to still have in our midst the elders in the African National Congress, the people who can still provide guidance, who can still provide advice, who we can still turn to and seek knowledge, experience, and also the history of the African National Congress. Because Comrade Andrew Mlangeni is a giant himself, a giant of our revolution, who has also walked with other giants. And that's the beauty of it all, that Comrade Andrew walked with many other leaders, and they were able, during their leadership tenure, to sharpen their wits, to debate issues, to be able to be leaders who will come out with great clarity that has guided and has continued to guide our movement. So with me as well as president of the ANC, if I want guidance, the people who I would tend to is Comrade Andrew Mlangeni. is Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe and say we've got people within our ranks who are able to give us, the experience and what they went through and the knowledge base that they have about our revolution. We usually don't talk about people when they are still alive, but we are fortunate today that we can celebrate Comrade Andrew's life and we can draw lessons. And what are the lessons that we can draw from his life? The one is that he is an inspiration. He's an inspiration to all of us. An inspiration also in the way that he has lived his life. Very healthy, although he has been a bit sickly the past few months, but he's been very healthy throughout his life, and he's been able to walk the fairways of many golf courses and hit a nice ball of golf. And the other important thing is that he's the type of person who we can emulate. There aren't many people that you would want to be like. Sometimes you look at people and say, I don't want to be like this one. It's either style or Kinoto or Fela, But Comrade Andrew is the type of person that you would say, I want to be like him. And this is the great fortune that we have in our country. We've been blessed as a nation, and sometimes we are not aware of it. We've been so blessed, and let me tell you immediately that there aren't many countries that are like us. We should never think that we are exceptional, but we've been very fortunate. When we went to bury Comrade Nelson Mandela, one of the heads, he was a deputy president of a country, said to me, you South Africans are very, very fortunate because you've had all these leaders who played a key role in your struggle, and you still have them in your ranks, and they still continue to be part of this movement that has been in existence for well over 100 years, and their experience is still within you, and their lives continue to enrich you. And he was saying, look at Nelson Mandela, now you're burying him, you've had many others. And then I started counting. I was sitting next to him as we were burying Comrade Madiba. Then I started counting for him the leaders that we have had. And I was like rubbing it in so that he can realize how many we've had, right from 1912. And I kept saying, this is what this movement, this great movement, has produced. And this is what makes us a greatly fortunate nation. And it's not only a gift or a blessing to the African National Congress, but to the whole nation, because the history of our nation is so intricately linked with the history of the African National Congress. And therefore, the leadership that this movement has produced, Comrade Andrew being one of those, has been a leadership that has had such a huge impact and influence on the life of our nation. And it is for this reason that we bow our head to people like Comrade Andrew, and we thank them. Sometimes we never say thank you enough. Sometimes I wish we could be like other countries that have days like Thanksgiving, where you just say, we want to thank those who have made a contribution to the struggle that was fought and won 82 years later. It seemed long, but it was won. And people like Comrade Andrew Mlangeni was at the sharp end of that struggle, and people who sacrificed. And when we talk about sacrifice, it's people like Comrade Andrew Mlangeni, who, when Comrade Nelson Mandela stood in prison, and said, this is a cause that I am even prepared to die for. He was not only talking about himself, he was also talking on behalf of his colleagues, because the speech had been discussed. People like Comrade Andrew Mlangeni stood there in prison, determined, stoically, and with great courage, and they were prepared to die for the cause that finally brought our freedom. So it is for this reason, comrades and colleagues, that we should thank Comrade Mlangeni for his life, and thank him for what he means to us, and thank him for what he has done. And we want to thank his family for having donated him to the nation. And I just wish that Mama June was here to see her husband being celebrated at 93. Dade Mlangeni, we thank you and we honor you and say, yes, Lina ke roga roga hola. But Comrade Mlangeni says, no, he's had enough now. That is not your choice, it's our choice. We will decide. We will decide, because the nation still needs you. We still need you. I still need you as an elder of the African National Congress. We still need you amongst us. And long live Comrade Andrew Mlangeni. Thank you.
President Ramaphosa there making his remarks at the birthday dinner to celebrate the life of Andrew Mlangeni, calling him a stalwart of the ANC. Of course, Andrew Mlangeni was born today, the 6th of June in 1925. He was one of the first to go for military training in 1961, and of course was part of the cohort that was arrested in 1963 and sent to Robben Island, sentenced to life imprisonment there in 1963. He's one of the remaining survivors of that generation of Robben Islanders. And of course, as the president pointed out there, he remains an elder of the African National Congress and a bit of a thorn in the side of the party in recent years. He spoke out against Ngandla, he spoke out against the Itos. He even had some tough words to say for the Fees Must Fall movement, and at 93 is being celebrated for a life well lived in the service of his country. Now, the president is also going to be departing for Canada tomorrow. He's going to be attending the G7 summit meeting in Canada this coming weekend. Our correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease will bring us updates from the summit live from Canada.
Now, the South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or SACI, says that a lack of performance